There was a man who was having severe economic straits. And went to his teacher, his rabbi, and said, "What do I do? How do I get myself out of this place?" And the rabbi gave him some good advice, and at the conclusion of the meeting, the man turned to the rabbi and said, "Here, let me give you some money for tzedakah, for charity to give to the poor." And the rabbi said to him, "No. First you take care of your debts, because you have no tzedakah to give until you have paid off your creditors." The reason why that story is told in the context of this week's Torah reading is that why we do things and how we do things is so very critical to our lives. 2 weeks ago we studied the passage that related to the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai. Last week, the many laws that emanated from Sinai that ultimately make up the fabric of who we are as Jews. And this week, Terumah deals with the offering of flour, of wheat, of produce given for the sake of God. What matters keenly, says one of the greatest sages that ever lived, is not only that we know all the commandments that God has given us, but that we give them back to God and to humanity correctly. We sometimes can do things that are right, but in such a wrong way that it spoils the mitzvah entirely. And so we've seen in our own time, with all of the machinations of Wall Street recently, how sometimes good-minded people can go so very awful, so very bad. Vayichu li Terumah begins this week's Torah portion, and take for me Terumah. The sages note it should say give Terumah, not take Terumah. But the wise man realizes that when he or she gives tzedakah, they are not simply giving tzedakah, they are getting at the same time. For whenever we do the will of God, whenever we please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when we act in consonance with the Holy One, we are as blessed, if not more so, than the blessing that we give. I wish for you a beautiful Shabbos, a Shabbos that you feel in your soul, in your mind, and in your heart that is completely golden.